Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. Today we're going to be looking at another rather interesting mod which adds in a little bit of flavour and story elements to Karak Kadrin. This is Lore Series, Ungrim Slayer Quests. The mod is aimed at adding Slayer missions to the Karak Kadrin faction, adding both unique story-themed ones for Ungrim personally and one-off missions for all the other Dwarf Lords to try their skills at. This is more of a narrative-themed mod, which honestly works quite well. It's not very big, and yes, it's only recently been released on the workshop, but it is probably one of the more unique mods I've seen so far. Adding a narrative feel to a sandbox game, especially Total War Warhammer, can always be rather interesting. I myself quite like Karak Kadrin for its lore, so to see a lore-friendly mod being implemented, I obviously had to cover this. Now, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to start off a fresh campaign in easy mode and easy battles. This is simply so I can show off mechanics at a much faster rate. So without further ado, let's begin. Your campaigns will begin as normal. In fact, you won't get a prompt that the mod has actually started until you clear your first grudge. The grudge itself is the one listed as the Get Off My Chuffing Land grudge. After which you'll start to get prompts telling you about different monster encounters and so on, but let me show you in greater detail. I'll play ahead through the campaign and showcase anything of interest. So we've just settled the grudge, and you'll see that we've got a new prompt. These will be a regular occurrence known as monster tracks sighted, and the information provided is usually the same barring a few changes here and there. Nearby tracks indicate that a group of trolls have recently been roaming the surrounding lands. Such an occurrence is worth your investigation. As you can see, very close to our settlement, we now have an event encounter. These are what the monster hunts look like. The one that spawned here is always going to spawn there, but the others are in different locations in the map. You'll start to notice them as the turns go by, and some of them will even lead to story-based missions. But until then, let's recruit some more units and move to our first hunt. As you start making your way to these monster hunts, you'll notice that a dilemma will pop up. You'll receive a little bit of backstory regarding the event and two options. Either to fight your enemy in battle, this must be fought in person and cannot be auto-resolved, or to retreat, which by the way, just to let you guys know, retreating will give you negatives to your faction, so avoid retreating unless you absolutely have to. At the beginning, these possible enemy armies aren't really that impressive, and in truth it makes sense cause it's the start of a new campaign. You're not gonna have an absolutely powerful army anyway. And I have to make note that obviously I am playing in easy mode here, but in my own campaign I was playing in a harder difficulty and I didn't really have that much of a problem. Obviously having a rather large army of slayers who are all unbreakable does help. And I think the first battle itself lasted around 5 minutes or so, cause the trolls kept coming back, but minimal losses were had for my slayers and I carried on. Sure, the first battle might seem underwhelming, but it does get more interesting as time progresses, believe me. With the battle over and the slayers victorious, another prompt appears, which normally says as follows: Ungrim is victorious, but his slayer oath has not yet been fulfilled. After his hollow victory, Ungrim turns and looks for a bigger hunt. I'm mentioning this because these end prompts when your story missions begin tell you more or less where you need to go, so do keep an eye out for them. Now you'll also notice that completing that mission also refilled our action points. I'm not sure if this is intentional or not, but it's happened in every single campaign that I've done. It's not just limited to this, but use it to your advantage. You can easily get through an area with 4 or 5 missions in the same location and travel up the map as much as you can, provided that your army doesn't get wiped out, of course. As you complete more missions and expand your territories, you'll notice more of these quest markers appearing, but I do suggest that you explore around the map every now and then, as sometimes these quest markers for random events will pop up in different locations. For example, I have some quest markers in the northern reaches of Kislev. As I've not expanded that far up north yet, would I have not checked, I wouldn't have noticed. But now we're moving to our second marker. This time it's a different army, an army of savage orcs joined by wyverns and giants. It's actually rather interesting. I must have done at least 15 to 16 different battles and everything felt quite unique. While in truth I didn't have too much of a problem, because once again, Slayer armies are absolutely amazing early game, the quest system like this was a nice way to move around with Ungrim and see how much I could do. Not long into our campaign will we start to receive the actual story-based missions. These are pretty much chain quests. The first one is a pile of corpses. During Ungrim's quest, the Slayer King and his slayers find themselves in front of a large number of corpses spread around. Angry at seeing these signs of necromancy, Ungrim sets forth to Waldenhof to get some answers. So as stated before, this begins a bit of a chain quest, and in truth it's not very large, it's only a few missions here and there, but it's not the only one, so you do get a different amount of chain quests coming into effect. Now we know where we need to go, so let's journey to Waldenhof. As we arrive to the borders of Waldenhof, we are informed that a vampire and a necromancer are both active in the area, and we're given an element of choice here. We can either stop the necromancer, who is doing unspeakable things to the dead, or pursue the vampire, who she herself is pursuing a fleeing dragon. I myself decided to kill the necromancer off. The battle itself wasn't that difficult in all honesty, but then again I was running once again a full Slayer army who have a lot of benefits against large units, and it just so happens that this vampire was running a lot of large units. After we had dealt with the necromancer, our action points once again were refilled, so we moved on to the next quest marker. Interestingly enough, this was the next part of the quest. The vampire that we did not pursue had finally caught to the dragon. The poor majestic beast was slain and risen anew, and now we had to destroy the vampire before she could do any more damage anywhere else. Once again, it was simple enough. She had a decent amount of large units which we could destroy fairly quickly. My only issue with this battle was that instead of a zombie dragon, we were facing against a Terrorgeist. I'm just being a bit annoying here, but a Terrorgeist isn't really a zombie dragon, it's a giant bat. But other than that, you know, the story elements are fantastic here. It actually gives you a feeling like you're playing a campaign and not a sandbox game. As we complete our storyline missions, we're still also able to do the non-story based ones too. Random encounters with random armies and so on. They're not so spectacular, some of them are rather strange, like for example this one, which was mostly harpies, but it was still fairly fun. One thing that you will want to know here is this is an absolutely massive way to level up Ungrim and whatever other heroes you may have with him. If you can find a location with multiple markers, you can essentially power level extremely quickly. Sometimes you'll notice different quest markers appearing, and these ones will start off new chain quests. I don't know exactly how many have been implemented in this mod, but through my playtesting it seems that there's a fair amount. This particular chain quest is centered around Kislev. You see, whilst we were fighting off the undead, it seems like Kislev itself has been under siege by many monstrous units. And who better to deal with monsters than the Slayer King and his Slayer armies? Kislev calls to aid, and who are we to say no? Now, we're not going to continue any more with the campaign. Instead, I'm going to show off a final battle and give my thoughts around the mod. This is simply because I'd rather not go too heavy on the campaign itself and spoil all the potential story that you guys could be playing yourselves rather than watching someone else play. I'd rather you guys enjoy it, and trust me, it is very enjoyable. We're seeing more and more storyline focused mods pop up onto the workshop, and that's fantastic. Yes, Total War Warhammer is a sandbox game, but the element of story and narrative is always great, especially for minor factions. This isn't something that overhauls every single dwarf faction, but rather Karak Kadrin. So who's to say that we might not see another one in the future revolving around Belagar Ironhammer, or story-based mods for other races if they aren't in development already. The mod itself is very enjoyable, but I have to say one thing: if you do download this, make sure that you've also got a separate army trying to actually conquer and stuff. I myself spent a lot of time, possibly more on the mods than I did on the actual campaign, so I didn't really grow my empire to its best strength while everyone else was expanding. It's very easy to get distracted with the storylines and all the other stuff. Honestly, it's very enjoyable. It's perhaps one of the best mods I've played so far. The mod itself is fairly new, only been released this week in the workshop I believe, and as far as I know, I think there is an SFO compatibility submod coming out very soon. It might already even be out by the time this video gets released. The link to the mod can be found in the description below, and if you like playing as the dwarfs and want a new experience as Karak Kadrin, I honestly suggest you download this and give this a try. I'm currently playing a campaign myself in my own free time and rather enjoying it. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince and Okro for subscribing to us at our fame level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our king level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very soon. Have a good day.